What is this? What is it? I'm Dr. Anthony Collada. I'm a board certified psychiatrist. This video, I'm going to talk to you about therapy from a mental health perspective and therapy from an Orthodox perspective. And I'm going to talk about the Orthodox perspective based on this book, Orthodox Psychotherapy by a Metropolitan in one of the Orthodox churches. A Metropolitan is one of the highest ranking bishops. So there's a hierarchy in the Orthodox Church where it goes from Pope down to Metropolitan to Bishop to Priest, etc. So a Metropolitan really knows his spiritual stuff. But first, I would like to talk to you about mental health from a psychiatry perspective. And the reason I want to talk to you about both is because mental health from a psychiatry perspective can definitely be helpful, but there's a lot of limitations to that. Also, the Orthodox perspective can be very helpful, although for many people, they still need the mental health approach and the combination of the two. And so this video is going to try to bridge the combination of the two to find the benefits of each method. Now, the premise of this is that some bodily diseases or bodily suffering that people go through can actually be spiritual in nature. Look at obesity, for example. Obesity can rise from the spiritual vice of gluttony, or someone who's very promiscuous or going from one relationship to another can develop a personality disorder, and that can be from the spiritual vice of unchastity. And there's other spiritual vices that can play a role that can cause more distress and problems in people's life. We know that our thoughts affect our emotions and can affect our actions, or vice versa. We can have emotions that affect our thoughts and actions, etc. And so we really need to change or challenge some of these thoughts or emotions that we're having in order to change the behaviors. Now, one of the ways that you can fix the thoughts or challenge the thoughts that you're having is through a cognitive therapy worksheet, something like this, which can talk about the situation, the thoughts that come across from a situation, the emotions that follow, evidence for this or alternative responses, and then possible outcomes or the outcome of going through this process. Now, according to the Orthodox perspective, if a thought generates a lot of negative emotions like confusion, disturbance, frustration, feeling overwhelmed, it's likely from the demons, and that's what the demons want to do to cause problems in people's lives. And so the advice at that time is to just be calm and pray about it. Try to not let the emotions get the best of you and stay calm and pray. But if you looked at just a mental health perspective, it's not going to teach you that it could be the demons causing this, or that there's going to be this continuous struggle. And so I think that's the main part where mainstream therapy is lacking, because people may learn to try to cover up the thoughts or their senses versus various means. Like maybe they engage in food or sex or self-medicate with alcohol or drugs. People may even use medications to help numb or calm down their emotions or feelings, or try something to calm down the mind that is actually going to cause more harm to them in the long run. But oftentimes what mainstream mental health omits is that asceticism or ascetic practices, which is what this Orthodox psychotherapy approach really focuses on, helps one to calm down the desires of their body, their flesh, so that through fasting, through having self-control over what you eat and drink, you're going to have more self-control over your thoughts. Through studying scripture or learning about God through spiritual readings, that's going to help one to not get so distracted with things around them like the world or the environment. It teaches people to try to be careful of what they feed into their senses, what they look at, what they hear, because the senses can basically cause us to be victim to our passions, our emotions. So if we engage in too much food, this self-indulgence can lead to other problems like unchastity or being lazy, not praying or not putting in good work. The author also further states, which is much different than what mental health treatment states, is that if one focuses on self-knowledge or self-analysis, that is going to be confusing to them, and that can actually lead to psychological problems or illnesses, because you may attribute one cause of your thoughts or emotions to something else which may not be accurate. But instead, he focuses on the ascetic practices, just trying to calm down our body's natural instincts or desires for food or sleep or hunger or thirst, and then try to calm that down through these practices of self-control, of fasting, of prayer, of reading. And this Orthodox perspective also states to, if you have evil thoughts, to reject them as soon as you can. and replace that with a thought of Christ or a thought of God. Even goes on to say that sometimes good thoughts, ultimately we want to transform the evil thoughts into something good. But even the good thoughts, if it takes our focus away from God and Christ, they actually won't be that good because we want to focus on Christ, who's the source of goodness. And the author states there are specific treatments for certain conditions that not many spiritual fathers or spiritual people know about. For example, he goes to say for unchastity, a specific treatment would be to fast and keep vigilant, to work, and to avoid meeting people. He says if someone is dealing with anger or resentment, to be indifferent to fame, dishonor, or material things. If someone is feeling very angry about how someone treated them, pray for them. And then sometimes if you notice someone is giving you problems, they need to be avoided altogether. So this practice of asceticism is also an important part of mental health treatment. In fact, we have this notion that there are some healthy ways to deal with life conflicts or challenges. Humor can be one way, helping others can be another way, transforming something negative into something positive, and then also this ascetic practice, basically decreasing our desires of the flesh or our emotions so that we can increase our spiritual life, our focus on God, and our attention on God.